Welcome back to the Emily Show. And though I am elbow deep in Rust trial coverage, of course I get on a plane and new lawsuits break into the headlines. Today we are covering Rachel Leviss versus Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix, as well as the answers in the lawsuit where Ariana is suing Tom Sandoval and the bank over the house. So today is like part one of two of the Bravo lawsuits because I can't do them all in one episode. Today is the Vanderpump Rules lawsuits, and then I'm going to have to do another episode covering the other Bravo Sphere lawsuits, including allegations made by Brandi Glanville against the network and Andy Cohen, and allegations in a lawsuit made by Leah McSweeney against Andy Cohen and the network. So we're going to do kind of the ex-housewives will be part two. The Vanderpump Rules of it all will be part one. If you do not watch Vanderpump Rules, I will do a quick recap of the scandal that led to this lawsuit. The housing lawsuit is also part of that. So I will give a quick recap. Do not worry. But there are some very interesting questions of law amidst the questions of public perception. And of course, the lawyers working on the Rachel Leviss lawsuit are the same lawyers working with Brandi Glanville and who have made statements on behalf of Bethany Frankel. So yes, this is another Mark Garagos lawsuit. So we're going to be talking all about that because it seems that he is personally the lawyer in charge of the reality reckoning, as it were. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Emily Show. I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst and big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years. I'm a former prosecutor, and I break down the legal side of pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. We should just get into it. Let's go. A thank you to today's sponsor, Honeylove, for making this episode possible. Honeylove is not just shapewear that makes your curves look great, but it's also shapewear that doesn't roll down, doesn't tuck in, doesn't pinch and pull and make you feel like you are being squeezed and flattened and can't sit down or use the bathroom. So whether you're looking for shapewear for upcoming events in the spring, or if you're looking for bras that don't dig in and move around, Honeylove has you covered. But they also have leggings and tank tops so that you are covered no matter what you need. Don't sleep on the sleepwear. It's my favorite thing ever. It keeps me cool at night, and the tank top has support, so it keeps the girls contained while I'm sleeping. I can't recommend it enough. Everything I've tried from Honeylove has been comfortable, functional, and doesn't make me feel like I'm too hot, which is a huge consideration and a bonus. Treat yourself to the best bras, shapewear, and sleepwear on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/lawnerd. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off at honeylove.com/lawnerd. And after you purchase, let them know the Emily Show sent you. Let's get back to all of today's episode. We need to do a quick what in the world is a Vanderpump Rules if you are not one of my reality TV people. I promise I will try to keep it brief. It was just a year ago at the beginning of March that Scandoval broke with the news that Tom Sandoval, one of the two Toms who is cast on Vanderpump Rules, was having a substantial 7+ month affair with another cast member, Rachel, who at the time was still going by Rachel Leviss. The only time I've really gotten to talk about Vanderpump Rules in my content is when Rachel got a restraining order against Sheena, another cast member. Tom Sandoval had been in a 10-year plus relationship partnership with Ariana Madix, who is now someone you would probably recognize because you will have seen her on Broadway, on commercials, at awards shows, and everywhere else. There was definitely a rallying around behind Ariana after this betrayal by her partner during the filming of this TV show and by her friend, Rachel, who Ariana, during the show, had very much sided with and stuck up for with other cast members. So last year, beginning of March, all hell breaks loose when Ariana sees a video on Tom's phone. She's at a show, he's in a cover band, and she sees this on his phone, and it prompts everything. That same night, Rachel and Sheena are filming Watch What Happens Live in New York, and there's a confrontation between the two that leads to the later dropped restraining order between Rachel and Sheena. In the course of all of this playing out on camera in a show that I thought was going to wrap last year after season 10, the way that the season ended before the Scandoval of it all was with one of the restaurants that this had been focused around closing, with Lisa Vanderpump giving a speech at the kind of last cast night, the last cast party, and really talking about watching everyone grow up and how proud she was. And it felt to me that that finale episode was meant to be a series finale, not just a season finale. And then this broke and cameras went back up, and now we are into the season of the fallout and picking up the pieces of Scandoval. Of course, it was addressed in the reunion as well. But Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix live together. She has since sued him, which I have covered, to portion out the house. They both own the house together, but both parties have to agree to sell, and that's not what's happening. So the house lawsuit answers are what we're going to look at first, because I have covered the house lawsuit. The lawsuit is essentially, excuse me, courts, can you force the sale and split the proceeds between us of this home? Thanks. The second lawsuit is Rachel suing both Tom and Ariana for revenge porn, eavesdropping, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress over that video seen on Tom's phone. And we're going to talk more about that in the second part of this episode. But first, we need to get to the answers in this house lawsuit, because I think this lawsuit's going to resolve much quicker and easier, one would hope, than the other. What we are looking at first is Tom Sandoval's answer to that complaint by Ariana asking for the house to be sold by partition. Court, sell it, fair price, send us to mediation, whatever. But house needs to get sold, proceeds need to get divided. And we've actually seen this come up in this season of Vanderpump Rules, where Ariana's putting her foot down and saying, hey, why should I have to move? You move, you get out. And Tom's like, I offered her money to buy her out. And she's like, why do I have to leave my house? You leave too. Tom Sandoval also talked about this in a not great way, being mild, in the Vile Files podcast. He thinks, his words, that Ariana's being petty over this whole thing, and she should just let him buy her out because he built the gym and he put a lot of effort into the house and he really likes his house and he wants to just buy her out. He doesn't want to sell it and partition it. And maybe that's what the court will do. Defendant Tom Sandoval, in answer to the verified complaint for partition of real property by sale. 1, defendant admits each and every allegation in paragraph 1 of the complaint. In answer to paragraph 2 of the complaint, defendant lacks sufficient information. Defendant admits paragraph 3. These are all the answers to the different paragraphs saying, yes, we own the house together. Yes, we're trying to do this. Yes, Citibank is a bank that we have worked with. So the answer is very much yes, we admit, or we don't have sufficient information to admit. Defendant admits that he owns an undivided 1/2 interest in the fee and subject real property. So yes, he owns half of it. Defendant is entitled to an accounting and compensatory adjustments for expenditures in excess of defendant's fractional share for necessary repairs, improvements that enhance the value of the subject real property, taxes, payments of principal and interest on mortgages and other liens, insurance for the common benefit, and protection and preservation of title. What does that mean, Emily? Well, what he is saying is, if you're going to make us sell the house and if we're going to partition it in half, I want an accounting because I have put more into the house. I have done more repairs. I have done more improvements. And as he's alleged on the show and on the Vile Files podcast, he's alleging that Ariana has not paid mortgage, that Ariana has not been making payments. So he's saying, if I have paid all the property taxes, I'm entitled to being compensated for all the property taxes because she's not paying her fair half of all of this. So that's what this part of his response is no, I need an accounting and I need to be compensated for the things I have paid over and above. Half is half. It goes on and say, in addition, defendant owes a lien on the subject real property for an outstanding loan of $90,000 to plaintiff. So Sandoval is saying that he does in fact owe a lien for an outstanding loan of $90,000. So those two things in the accounting might wash out, but we know that Tom took money out of the house based on what was said on the show to open and float Schwartz and Sandy's. And then they go on and list all of the potential affirmative defenses. This is pretty boilerplate. It happens in every single California lawsuit that we look at, where they list all of their potential affirmative defenses: failure to state a cause of action, estoppel, failure to mitigate, waiver, unclean hand, latches, offset, bad faith, additional affirmative defenses, which is anything that we missed, we reserve. This is what Tom Sandoval is additionally asking for in his prayer for relief. No partition by sale of the subject real property be had, and that plaintiff take nothing by her complaint in the event that the court decrees a partition, declares a sale. The defendant receive an accounting and compensatory adjustments for expenditures in excess of defendant's fractional share for necessary repairs, improvements that enhance the value of the subject property, etc., that were listed above. 3, that this defendant's lien be paid before any partition of the subject property be made, not after. We'll talk about that. For costs of the suit, for such other and further relief as deemed proper. But the lien be paid before the division of the property means that if they sell the property for whatever amount, his $90,000 lien gets paid out and then the money gets split, which means the lien comes out before the monies get split. So he does not bear the brunt of that $90,000 lien. I don't think a court's going to go for that. I don't think Ariana's attorneys are going to go for that. They're like, it's your lien. It's your lien for, I believe, based on statements made on the show, it's a lien for your business. So we sell the home, we partition it 50-50, and then you pay your lien out of your half, not out of the whole. And that will be very interesting to see. So this is the answer. This will be in court. City National Bank has also answered, and their answer has been a very specific denial that they are not a proper defendant in this case. They don't have enough information to affirm or deny, but Citibank is also being sued in this. And with that, the lawsuit for partition of the house is going to be very much more administrative. The court will probably send the parties to mediation to have a mediator determine how to sell the house and what price to set it at. I imagine it will probably get partitioned because they each own 50% and neither can sell just half unless they sell it to the other. And Ariana doesn't want to sell it to him. So if Ariana doesn't want to sell her half to Tom, she doesn't have to, but that means both of them have to sell the house. I still think she should just sell it to Tom Schwartz. That's where I'm at. Like, sell your half to Schwartz and let the two of them fight it out for eternity. But she doesn't want to do that, and it is her right to decide what she wants to do. So with that, let's move on to the more headline-grabbing lawsuit recently, which is Rachel. And even though for 10 seasons of Vanderpump Rules, she went by Raquel, I am calling her Rachel. These are all filed under Rachel. That is her given name. That is what she has asked to be called. That is what I am going to call her. But we are going to cover Rachel's lawsuit against Tom and Ariana and some of the background of that. First, we are going to go to a March 1st, and the timing of this is not unimportant because March 1st, I believe, was when this was all discovered, and the invasion of privacy and other causes of action, some of them have a 1-year statute of limitations. So I'm not surprised that this lawsuit was filed on February 29th, like the day before the statute of limitations runs. But we're going to go to an article from Variety that gives a little bit of background of everything that happened running up to this lawsuit being filed, because this is not the first time we are hearing about Rachel being displeased with being recorded against her will. And again, I'm going to give a law nerd warning of two things can be true at once. I know a lot of you have very strong feelings about Rachel, who would be super friendly to Ariana's face while, having an intimate relationship with her partner behind her back for 7+ months. Totally feel you. But it does not minimize to me the fact that Sandoval should not have recorded her engaged in intimate activity against her will, that should not have been distributed. So two things can be true at once, and it doesn't make what Tom did or what it's alleged that Tom did right. So we're going to go through all of that because it is sometimes hard to navigate the wrong done to people who you're like, yeah, but kind of fuck that guy. Like when wrong is done to people that are disliked, it makes it a little harder to evaluate the wrong. But what we're going to be doing today is evaluate the wrong despite of the feelings about Ariana, about Tom Sandoval, about Rachel. That said, this lawsuit is scathing, and we are going to go through all 19 pages of it so you will know everything. So first, we are going to Variety for a little bit of background. Before Scandoval lawsuit, Rachel Leviss's lawyer sent letter discouraging Bravo from airing sex tape discussion with Tom Sandoval exclusive. And this again came out March 1st. On February 29th, ex-Vanderpump Rules star Rachel Leviss filed an explosive lawsuit against her former castmates Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix for eavesdropping, revenge porn, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I will sidebar myself and say another huge thank you to our sponsors because I am not going to mince words in this coverage of this lawsuit. It is news. It is a lawsuit. These are things that happen in the world. So I am not going to downplay the words that are happening here for the internet because our sponsors allow me to just tell you what the lawsuit says, tell you what the legal news is, and break it down without having to play down the words or the things that are alleged. And I very much appreciate our sponsors on every show for doing that because we're going to say all of maybe the advertiser unfriendly words, which is why I'm so thankful for the advertisers that rock with me. So as we continue on with this, at the core of Leviss's lawsuit, which we're going to go through, is Scandoval. Emily, can you say Tom Sandoval's name without saying Scandoval? Maybe not. Is Sandoval's recording of sexually explicit videos of her without her knowledge or consent, which were then distributed, disseminated, and discussed publicly by a scorned woman seeking vengeance, catalyzing the scandal. That is a direct quote from the lawsuit. So you know this lawsuit's coming in hot because those are allegations levied against Ariana. Though Rachel is not suing Bravo, NBC, or Evolution, the production company behind VPR, the lawsuit filed by her attorneys, Brian Friedman and Mark Garagos, claims these companies sanitized the story to ensure Rachel would be seen as the arch villain. Remember, these lawyers are also working with Bethany Frankel and Brandi Glanville. That will be a part 2. But in contradiction to part of Leviss's suit, Variety reviewed an email from her former attorney dated March 6, 2023. You might remember that around this time, the cast of VPR was also saying that they were being sent cease and desists about the same thing. This is from Rachel's former lawyer. Rachel's then lawyer insisted that, quote, the right thing to do is to not air any discussion of the recording of Rachel. Quote, giving life to a recording that was illegally obtained by allowing discussion of it on air would be tantamount to rewarding someone for robbing a bank or shooting someone. This is what the lawyers are writing to production. This is attorney Kopikin. Quote, we would hope that Evolution and Bravo have sufficient character and restraint to not air any discussion of this illegally obtained recording. Asked to comment on the apparent discrepancy, Friedman, Rachel's current lawyer, wrote, quote, and this is back to the reporter at Variety. The reporter at Variety said, hey, the previous lawyer in all of these cease and desists and the strongly worded letter to Bravo said this. Do you care to comment? And this is the comment from the current lawyers. Quote, clearly you do not understand what this case is about. Question mark. If you did understand the actual legal claim, you would not be asking questions about a letter sent to a production company that is not even named as a defendant in the complaint. This case is about revenge porn arising from illegally recording and disseminating a sexual video without the knowledge or consent of our client. It is not only a civil wrong, but likely a crime. And in California, yes, there are revenge porn crimes. It goes on to say, let me know if you care to ask a question about the case that is actually being litigated. The fire with which they ripped back at Variety was so surprising to me. I was like, what is happening? What? Why bring the smoke at the Variety reporter who's just trying to say, hey, the previous lawyer said, let's not discuss it. I wonder if this reporter actually said, Streisand effect, my guy. Like the previous lawyer said, let's not discuss this in public. Y'all filed a suit. Now it's all we're going to be discussing in public. So can you comment on the discrepancy? And they came back. You don't even know what we're talking about. Come back to us when you want to talk about the main point. Spicy. When contacted by Variety, the former lawyer for Rachel confirmed he no longer represents her, and a spokesperson for NBC Universal and MGM Entertainment declined to comment. The rest of the reporting by Variety goes into the cease and desist sent to cast members about not talking about this, about the fact that Sandoval wanted a scene cut where he and Rachel are in her apartment together with the galaxy lights, and apparently she confronts him about this and he demands that scene be cut. And it seems that this spilled over into the reunion last season as well, when Tom wanted a minute to talk to her off air and didn't get that minute, that this might have been what it was about. So let's go to the lawsuit with a strong reminder that lawsuits are allegations and shade, and we will see how this goes. I know y'all are going to have strong feelings about this one. So thank you to today's sponsor, Shopify, not only for sponsoring the Emily Show podcast, but also for being the platform that I run the Law Nerd shop on that has brought you all of your favorite Law Nerd merchandise. So whether you're selling Scandoval related sweatshirts or homemade goods, online or in person, Shopify has you covered from the launch your business online to the first in-person store to the first million orders. Shopify also has the best converting checkout on the internet, 36% better than other leading commerce platforms. It's no wonder that Shopify powers 10% of all online commerce, not just my store, but stores like Rothy's, Brooklinen, and Allbirds. Plus, Shopify has award-winning service to help you get set up. When I say I built my Shopify shop at 3 a.m. on a FaceTime call with a friend of mine, it's absolutely true. It is easy to do, but if you get stuck, they've got your back. And if you're ready to try it for yourself, no matter what you're selling, sign up for the $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lawnerd. Remember, lawnerd's all lowercase. Sign up for the $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/lawnerd and grow your business no matter what stage you're in. It's no wonder businesses that grow with Shopify. And get ready to hear this sound. Let's get back to today's episode. February 29th, filed in the Los Angeles Superior Court, Rachel Leviss suing Tom Sandoval, Ariana Madix, does 1 through 100. Complaint for damages: eavesdropping, revenge porn, invasion of privacy, IIED, intentional infliction of emotional distress, which we have discussed so much on this channel lately due to the now settled Petito versus Laundrie lawsuit. Preliminary statement. Plaintiff Rachel Leviss is a former cast member on Vanderpump Rules, a reality television show produced by Evolution Media, broadcast by Bravo, an asset of NBC Universal, collectively Bravo. This case arises from a scandal of epic proportions starting in March 2023, stemming from an affair between Rachel and another cast member, Tom Sandoval. They're going to call everybody by their last names. I might fluctuate between last name, first name, and use them synonymously, but we're dealing with Rachel, Tom, and Ariana. And another cast member, Tom Sandoval, quote unquote, Scandoval, as it became known, went instantly viral and was the subject of extraordinary press coverage, even in the mainstream media. This was being covered by like CNN and shit. It was wild watching Scandoval literally take flight to every corner of the media. It's also when I started watching Vanderpump Rules, to be perfectly honest, and then binge watched the entire thing so I could catch up before the season started, which I know many of you did. It goes on to say Scandoval injected new life into a previously faltering series, causing its viewership to explode to unseen levels and making its cast members mega celebrities. There was definitely a difference between the VPR cast at BravoCon 2023 and the VPR cast at BravoCon 2022. You could see the shift. It was a massive shift. It continues to say, due to a narrative deliberately formed by Bravo, Evolution, and the cast, Rachel became an object of public scorn and ridicule. I think Rachel and Tom both became an object of public scorn and ridicule. I will agree. I believe it was Lala that talked about the fact that in an affair or in anything like this, the woman is going to get it harder from the public. There was a conversation. I think Rachel was calling Lala a homewrecker at the time that Rachel was sleeping with Tom. I'm going to have to go back and watch all of season 10 with like a timeline in mind. But I think Lala was talking about the fact that women are going to get treated worse. And I think that we have definitely seen Rachel been held up to public scorn and ridicule. I think Tom has also been held up to public scorn and ridicule. It goes on to say, to be clear, Rachel has repeatedly acknowledged that her actions were morally objectionable and hurtful to Ariana. She has offered numerous apologies. There is more to the story, however. Lost in the mix was that Rachel was a victim of the predatory and dishonest behavior of an older man who recorded sexually explicit videos of her without her knowledge or consent. Just so you know where I stand on it, that's fucked. We're going to continue. My comment that that's fucked is not contained within the body of this lawsuit, which were then distributed, disseminated, and discussed publicly by a scorned woman seeking vengeance, catalyzing the scandal. I don't know how attacking Ariana is going to help here, but we're going to need to continue because I need to see what they have to say because they are suing both. Rachel ultimately checked herself into a mental health facility and remained there for 3 months while Bravo, Evolution, and the cast milked the interest the excoriation had peaked. To make matters worse, Rachel was misled by Bravo and Evolution, who are not parties to this lawsuit, believing that she was contractually barred from speaking out about her mistreatment. As a result, she suffered in silence as Bravo and Evolution watched viewership explode and the rest of the cast enjoyed unseen levels of public recognition and professional opportunity. We have seen Tom complaining about that on this season of Vanderpump Rules and confronting Sheena about it. Like, why are you continuing to talk about this and talk about me on your podcast? Like, you're making money off of talking about me. Because, of course, half the cast has podcasts. So we're going to talk about their podcasts while talking about this lawsuit on my podcast. So they're saying the cast is enjoying unseen levels of public recognition. And then they go on to say, meanwhile, Rachel, who was humiliated and villainized for public consumption, remains a shell of her former self with her career prospects stunted and her reputation in tatters. Having taken the time necessary to heal mentally and emotionally, Rachel brings this action at long last to attain a measure of justice that has so far eluded her. And the statute of limitations was running, at least as to the privacy, which is a 1-year statute. You were gonna run the statute of limitations. Parties. Rachel Leviss is a former cast member of VPR, lives in California. Sandoval is a reality television personality, cast on VPR, lives in California. Madix is a reality television personality, cast of VPR, lives in California. And then the does 1 through 50. Jurisdiction and venue, this is filed in LA. Everybody lives in LA. Moving on. General allegations. The hostile and unsafe working environment at Vanderpump Rules. Ma'am, and I say ma'am because this is Rachel filing this lawsuit, ma'am, you're not suing anyone associated with production. Tom Sandoval's not in charge of this. Ariana Madix not in charge of this. So this case centers on Vanderpump Rules, a reality television series that premiered on Bravo in 2013. The series revolves around the staff of Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants in West Hollywood, Sir Restaurant and Lounge, Pump Restaurant, and Tom Tom Restaurant and Bar. Vanderpump, a British restaurateur and former Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast member, is the central figure of the series, which focuses on her employees' drama-filled personal and professional lives. Yeah, all of this cast has slept with each other. The show has aired continuously for over a decade, and its 11th season premiered on January 30th, 2024. I very much enjoyed the premiere party. Rachel was a cast member on Vanderpump Rules from 2016 to 2023. She made her first appearance on the show as the girlfriend of cast member James Kennedy. You didn't put the DJ in front of it? DJ James Kennedy. James Kennedy, a DJ prone to violent outbursts and grappling with longstanding substance abuse issues and emotional dysregulation. Well, they're going to bring the fire for everybody, aren't they? Kennedy would so we're just going to spill all the tea on James Kennedy as well then. So everybody's getting the smoke in this lawsuit, it seems. Kennedy would regularly berate Rachel, falsely accuse her of cheating, and act in a generally unhinged manner. Some of this was captured on camera, some was not. Rachel eventually warned Kennedy that she would leave him if he did not stop drinking. However, she soon learned that his despicable behavior was not solely a function of alcohol abuse. At Thanksgiving with Rachel's family in Arizona, Kennedy erupted at Rachel's mother and father and kicked her family dog 4 times in an uncontrollable rage. What does any of this have to do with the lawsuit? I don't know. I don't know at all. But she's going to have a go at James Kennedy, it seems. In 2021, Rachel ended their relationship and broke off their engagement. Kennedy's history of violent and dangerous behavior was well known by Bravo, Evolution, and the cast. Kennedy once physically assaulted then cast member Kristen Doty on camera. The footage, however, never aired. If Bravo has footage of James Kennedy assaulting Kristen, that is a whole other situation. A whole other situation for Kristen and James to work out. But we have seen these allegations starting to bubble up recently. None of it was filed in lawsuits, so I didn't pay a ton of attention to it, but similar allegations have bubbled up. It goes on to say, nor has Kennedy faced any repercussions for his actions, which would otherwise be fireable, at a minimum due in part to the intervention of his powerful ally, Lisa Vanderpump, who has served as his protector. So now we're getting to Lisa is protecting James, even though he has assaulted other cast members, none of which are parties to this lawsuit. When there is a motion to dismiss, I imagine they will be seeking to, well, maybe they won't. I don't know if the parties will care about excising this stuff out of the lawsuit. None of this is relevant to them. It's still in the lawsuit. In 2021, after 3 seasons as a recurring character, Rachel was cast as a lead. At the same time, however, she was in a vulnerable state due to the breakdown of her engagement with Kennedy, which was catalyzed by his chronic substance abuse, emotional instability, and controlling behavior. While she had previously moderated her alcohol intake because of Kennedy's heavy drinking, Rachel began drinking much more heavily in the aftermath of their breakup. Rachel was encouraged to do so by production and Sandoval, who believed it would make for better television and readily provided alcohol for her consumption. This echoes allegations we have seen made by others in the Bravo sphere, and when we get to part 2 and cover the lawsuit by Leah McSweeney and allegations made by Brandy Glanville, we will be circling back to drinking in Bravo, but this has come up again and again and again. By season 10, Kennedy had resumed drinking again and picked up a new girlfriend weeks after his breakup with Rachel. All of this caused untold harm to Rachel's mental health. What does the new girlfriend have to do with any of this? She seems lovely. All of this caused untold harm to Rachel's mental health, inducing her to drink more and leaving her vulnerable to what followed. Rachel began confiding in Sandoval, a former bartender at SUR and a cast member since the show's first season. Sandoval had been in a relationship with another cast member, Ariana Madix, since 2014. For those of you that aren't well-versed in the Vanderpump Rules universe and lore, before Sandoval was with Ariana, he was dating Kristen Doty, who was previously named in this lawsuit because of their alleged interaction between her and James Kennedy. So James Kennedy was engaged to Rachel. James Kennedy had dated Kristen and started dating Kristen when Kristen was maybe still with Tom, but Tom started dating Ariana when he was still maybe with Kristen. So it's like Melrose Place, but in real life. Imbibed and emotionally raw, it goes on to say, Rachel began relying heavily on Tom for emotional support. Tom, in turn, began confiding in Rachel about the dire state of his relationship, describing it as a business partnership and casting its end as foregone. How many relationships have you heard of where the party that is married or in a stable partnership tells the other person it's basically over. All notwithstanding, Madix and Sandoval had been living together in Valley Village, Los Angeles. On or about August 10th, Rachel and Sandoval began sleeping together. The lawsuit says this exactly. So they're alleging that this affair took place or started on or about August 10th, 2022, and then went through March of 2023 when it was discovered. So August 10th, 2022, Rachel and Tom began sleeping together. The affair continued apace as Sandoval's relationship with Madix further deteriorated. He says, it goes on to say, although purportedly secret, the affair was in fact well known to many cast members and suspected by others. Rachel and Tom were not particularly discreet. We're not going to try to shift the blame here by saying people just didn't want to see it. Like that's not what we're going, right? Rachel and Tom were not particularly discreet. Rachel is informed and believes and on such alleges that Ariana knew about it as early as the fall of 2022. Oh, that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. Indeed, in December 2022, Ariana scolded Rachel and Tom for being handsy in public, admonishing them to save the story for season 11. At the time, VPR was facing an uncertain future. Interest among the public had waned, the plot had grown stale. Ariana, in particular, was reportedly on the chopping block footnote 1, which is a link to a reality blurb blog. In the absence of a sticky new storyline, there is every reason to believe VPR would have been canceled. There were lots of rumors about VPR being canceled, and that season 10 was its final season. Ariana was as aware of these pressures as Sandoval, and both were heavily invested financially and reputationally in the show remaining on the air. By extension, if their relationship was already on the rocks, and if Tom was intent on brazenly carrying out an illicit affair with another cast member, they had every incentive to leverage these salacious threads into the storyline VPR so desperately needed. That is precisely what happened in a series of otherwise unlikely events. So let me get this straight. The allegation by Rachel through her lawyers is that Tom and Ariana decided that this all needed to play out on the show to save the show and sacrifice Rachel? Is that what's being alleged? It goes on. Sandoval and Madix record and distribute illicit videos of Rachel. On or about March 1st, 2023. Oh, it was like exactly March 1st. Sandoval was performing with his cover band at Tom Tom in West Hollywood when his phone purportedly fell from his pocket and slid unlocked or otherwise fully accessible into the crowd. It was reportedly retrieved by an attendee and handed over to Madix, who searched it and found sexually explicit videos of Rachel. Rachel is informed and believes, and on such information and belief alleges, that the explicit videos were recorded by Tom without her knowledge or consent in or around February 2023. The two videos Rachel has seen depicting her in a state of undress and masturbating. That's in the lawsuit. However, given Sandoval's apparent practice of secretly recording their video calls, Rachel has every reason to assume there are additional illicit videos and or photographs of her that she has not yet seen. Look, that's not okay. It is also, in fact, illegal. I have not looked at the statute of limitation criminally. I do not believe anyone has filed a police report, but that is not okay. Rachel is informed and believes and alleges that Ariana obtained at least 2 illicit videos of her and distributed them or showed them to others without her knowledge or consent. At a minimum, they're alleging Ariana circulated the illicit videos to herself and Rachel. She also immediately informed production about what she had found. Informing production and showing production is different. In addition, many others have demonstrated intimate familiarity with their contents, leading Rachel to believe the circle of recipients is wider. So it's my understanding just from discussion on the show that these were FaceTime videos that Tom surreptitiously recorded, not okay. The allegation against Ariana here is that she distributed it to herself and to Rachel, meaning Ariana would have sent the video to Rachel, which might be true. But if it is that going to count as distributing? And we're going to need to get into that. And if Ariana sent it from Tom's phone to her phone and then sent it to Rachel, it could also be a problem. And if Ariana sent it to Rachel, Rachel would have that in her phone. So now we get into what happened after Watch What Happens Live. The heading for this section reads as follows, quote, Leviss battered after Madix steals and sends illicit videos. So now we're going to talk about Scheana, apparently. On the night of March 1st, Rachel was in New York with another cast member, Scheana Shay, taping Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Having finished filming, Rachel and Scheana were at a bar when Rachel received a text from Madix, quote, you are dead to me, end quote. Alongside the message were 2 videos of Rachel that Madix had purportedly discovered on Sandoval's phone. Rachel experienced a swirl of emotions in response, including shock and fear. Shock because she did not know Sandoval had recorded pornographic videos of her. Fear because these videos were now in the hands of someone who hated her guts and was out for blood. She was terrified Madix would leak them on the internet. I can understand that fear if somebody is upset that they might be leaked on the internet. I can understand that. Reacting to this revelation in apparent shock and anger, Shay violently assaulted Leviss. Okay. Shoving her aggressively into a brick wall, punching her in the face, and throwing her phone into the street. The blow to Rachel's face caused a rupture above her left eyebrow and severe swelling and bruising above her left eye. Rachel was told by a treating physician that her busted brow would permanently scar. We've gotten very colloquial in the wording of this lawsuit. Shaken, Rachel flew home the next day and informed her family of what was happening, and then got treated, and then took pictures, and then filed the restraining order that was then dropped. Bravo and Evolution capitalize on Scandoval to cover up defendants' illegal acts. I can't believe she's having a go at Scheana again in this, but I think she's trying to support not just the IIED, but the fallout from this. And, well, we're going to mention it all, apparently. Bravo and Evolution capitalize on Scandoval and cover up defendants' illegal acts. News of the affair and its aftermath, dubbed Scandoval, broke on March 3rd when TMZ first reported the affair. This initial reporting was quickly followed by a torrent of follow-up stories. By March 4th, tabloids had already begun reporting on the pornographic videos of Rachel, citing unnamed sources, footnote 2, and then they cite to a story from People. Although filming for season 10 had already wrapped, Bravo and Evolution had a camera crew ready to shoot the next day. Yeah, somebody screamed, I need Andy Cohen and a camera. Scandoval captured the public's attention in a massive way, went completely viral, and injected new life into VPR. It also caused mayhem in Rachel's life. I believe that 100%, culminating in months-long inpatient treatment at a mental health facility and her departure from the show. Fomented by Bravo and Evolution in conjunction with the cast, Rachel was subjected to a public skewering with little precedent and became, without exaggeration, one of the most hated women in America. On March 4th, the day after news of the affair had broken, production directed Rachel to film with Tom at her LA apartment. With cameras rolling, Rachel confronted Tom for secretly recording pornographic videos of her and storing them unprotected on his phone. Tom had not only invaded her privacy and breached her trust, but had also left her enormously vulnerable to a nightmare scenario of the videos leaking on the internet. But the videos leaking isn't the same as revenge porn. I mean, if somebody hacks the phone, it's a bit different. But I think she's worried about somebody putting them on the internet. Tom responded to Rachel's fury with cowardice and lies, claiming falsely that he had obtained permission to record her. Seeing that Rachel was having none of it, however, Tom ultimately offered a reluctant admission and a sheepish apology. All of this is going to be requested by subpoena. Turn us over the footage. It goes on to say Tom was clearly rattled. After filming ended, an erratic and unsettled Tom refused to leave Rachel's apartment in spite of her requests. Rachel was forced to have her sister and brother-in-law pick her up and drive her to their home. That day, Rachel retained an attorney to mitigate the risk of the illicit videos leaking. This is when the cast were all sent cease and desists. Once at her sister's home, Rachel turned off her phone for 2 days, hoping the heat would die down. However, media reports suggest Tom was in a panic over the on-camera confrontation with Rachel. This actually would make sense because Tom freaked out at the reunion and wanted to talk to Rachel, seemingly to find out what she was going to say. If it was over this, his behavior makes more sense. His behavior then didn't make sense because it wasn't clear what he wanted to talk about and why he was like, I need a minute to talk to her off camera. And production was like, no. Specifically, Tom, they're alleging, was concerned that being accused of recording non-consensual pornography would, quote, paint him in a negative light, footnote 3, which is an ET online article about this. Tom reportedly threatened to cease all further filming for the show unless he was granted editing rights over the scene. Shockingly, Bravo and Evolution obliged his demand. The scene was selectively edited to omit any mention of Sandoval's illicit recording or Rachel's lack of consent. This was part of a pattern and practice of Bravo and Evolution throwing Rachel under the bus in favor of Tom. Recording someone engaged in sex acts without their consent is a crime. Nobody seems to have reported it to police, however. My interjection. And Sandoval appears to have admitted it on camera. Okay. So other than putting it in a filing, what else is happening? Portraying the confrontation as it actually occurred instead of portraying Sleazy Sandoval. Is this lawsuit now nicknaming him Sleazy Sandoval? In your lawsuit? Okay. All right. Portraying the confrontation as it actually occurred instead of protecting Sleazy Sandoval would have not only been truthful, it would have also been quote unquote good television. But Bravo and Evolution had apparently decided that Rachel would be their sacrificial lamb. Throughout the ordeal, they have sanitized the story to ensure Rachel would be seen as the arch villain. So they're accusing non-sued parties of protecting Sleazy Sandoval and portraying her as a sacrificial lamb in the sake of good television. She did have a months-long affair with one of her good friend's partners. Doesn't make Tom less sleazy. On March 7th, Rachel's attorneys sent out cease and desist letters to the cast regarding the distribution of the non-consensual illicit videos. Hey, if any of the members of the cast would like to share their cease and desist letter after it's been sent to Daryl, I am happy to cover it in part 2 of this podcast episode. The letters promptly leaked. Footnote 4. Rachel also filed a police report, applied for a temporary restraining order against Sheena, the cast member who had assaulted her on March 1st. I did cover that on YouTube. And this is TMZ. The link is to TMZ talking about the letter about the FaceTime video. Despite initially bragging about having punched Rachel, Sheena began to adamantly deny it in public. You guys are going to have to watch the show and all the podcasts and let me know what you think. The defense to Sheena punching Rachel has long been, my nails are too long to even make a fist. She did say she pushed her, though. She accused Rachel of lying and abusing the court system. This was in spite of Sheena's own private and televised admissions of guilt and Rachel's visible facial injuries. I'll just link the episode where I cover that below. By March 10th, Rachel decided to check herself into a mental health facility. Sandoval, for his part, tried to talk her out of it and begged her to participate in the reunion. Sandoval's like, no, baby, you're fine. What you need is more television. I think Rachel's instincts on this were quite right. What I need is less television. Rachel reluctantly agreed to wait on the condition that a mental health professional be on set in case things got out of hand, given her fragile mental state and the fury brewing amongst the cast. It was a difficult reunion to watch. The cast was fucking furious. Bravo agreed, then changed its mind. Yeah, I kind of hate that. Rachel then requested her publicist and confidant, Juliet Harris, be permitted to attend. Bravo agreed and then again changed its mind. By that point, the reunion was the next day, too soon for Rachel to pull out, and she had no reasonable alternative but to participate. Why? She also feared the legal implications of refusing to appear. That makes more sense, given the draconian terms of her contract. And so she did so, but without the support she felt she needed and that Bravo had previously offered to provide. I'm interested to see what Bravo has to say about that. At the same time, press coverage was slanted decidedly against Rachel, who became an object of scorn and ridicule. Other cast members were vilifying her in interviews and waging a public campaign against her on social media. They could not have done so without the blessing of Bravo, which pre-approves all cast media appearances and exercises tight control over public messaging. I believe that to be true based on my experience, that they do pre-approve all appearances. Sometimes cast members go rogue and they get fined, but it does happen. They also all have their own podcast. I don't know if Bravo calls them and asks them to take down episodes that they're not happy with, but they may. Bravo had clearly decided this feeding frenzy was good for ratings. Various cast members and Bravo itself also released their own Scandoval merchandise. We are on page 10 of this lawsuit, and we have heard very little about what Tom and Ariana are alleged to have done, and a lot about everybody else. Bravo itself released their own Scandoval merchandise to cash in on the explosion of interest, including a, quote, "I survived Scandoval" long sleeve t-shirt currently available for sale on Bravo's website, footnote 5. Shot by Bravo. Yeah, they did. And they have the right to based on their contracts. Is it distasteful? You let me know. It is clear that Bravo deliberately sacrificed Rachel for the sake of its commercial interests and its refusal to allow her the opportunity to tell her side of the story and defend herself, which she repeatedly begged for permission to do. She sat down on multiple days at the reunion. Multiple. Without exception, her pleas fell on deaf ears. As a result of this asymmetrical coverage, the public was not made aware of the extent to which Rachel was victimized by the ordeal or the toll it was taking on her mental state. She sat down twice to speak at the reunion, privately, twice, once with production, once with Andy. She did have an opportunity to speak. She might not have felt she had the support she needed to, but she did have an opportunity to speak one-on-one and film one-on-one after that. As the feeding frenzy reached a crescendo, Rachel was subject to a gag order prohibiting her from discussing Sandoval's gross invasion of privacy, Madix's vengeful response, Bravo's cover-up, or the veracity of her allegations of physical assault against Sheena, who was publicly calling her a liar, accusing her of playing the victim and being falsely backed up by others. Who did that? Was it Ariana or Tom? Because this is a lawsuit against them. Who silenced her then? Who issued a gag order against her? In sum, while the rest of the cast savaged Rachel's reputation, lied about her in the press, drumming up not only interest in VPR, but also hatred of her, Rachel herself was involuntarily silent, muzzled by Bravo for the sake of its ratings. While all of this may have been good for ratings, it was a catastrophe for Rachel, the human being who was forced into hiding and subjected to death threats directed at her and her family. Tom, on the other hand, received a development deal from Bravo for a job well done, along with a pay raise. What development deal did Bravo give to Sandoval? Because what? Also, sue Bravo. Why are we just suing Tom and Ariana then? I have questions. If anybody would like to email me and share the thought behind this, I am open. Email's public. Happy to read it. Oh, and now it's time to have a go at Andy Cohen. The next heading reads, Andy Cohen exploits Rachel's fragile mental state. It goes on to say, as expected, the reunion was a train wreck for Rachel of epic proportions. With full knowledge of her then dire mental state, Bravo and Andy Cohen took no steps to mitigate Rachel's abuse. Even as Cohen himself expressed concern for her mental health going into the reunion, footnote 6. And there are articles from page 6 about it. One fellow cast member, Katie Maloney, had been openly threatening to, quote, light her on fire. Another, Sheena Shea, had violently assaulted her. During the reunion itself, we're quoting the reunion directly in a lawsuit. During the reunion itself, Rachel was on the receiving end of unrelenting missives, quote, diabolical, demented, subhuman, a poo-poo head. No, objection. Objection. It is my understanding and recollection that DJ James Kennedy called Sandoval a poo-poo head and a worm with a mustache, not Rachel. I'm going to have to go back and watch the reunion to fact check this lawsuit that is centering around what was said at a reunion. And this is a quote from Ariana from the reunion. And yes, this is a direct quote from Ariana from the reunion. Quote, fuck yourself with a fucking cheese grater. You fucking suck. You're disgusting, and I wish nothing but the worst fucking shit that could ever happen to a person on you. That absolutely happened. As she was berated, abused, and dehumanized by the rest of the cast, above all Madix, Rachel remained largely silent and stoic in apparent shock. Later, Cohen remarked glibly that he did not know how long she would last on set and chalked up her apparent stoicism to being, quote, really medicated, footnote 7. Andy absolutely said that. But Cohen and Bravo already knew that Rachel was indeed medicated, something neither surprising nor remotely funny in light of what was happening to her. He did make cracks about it at the reunion. Heading 5, Bravo and Evolution sabotage Rachel's recovery. What? By the time of the reunion, Rachel was utterly battered physically and mentally, and shortly thereafter, she checked herself into a mental health treatment facility and remained there for 3 months. Even in treatment, however, Rachel could not escape from the claws of Bravo and Evolution. She was warned repeatedly by them not to breach her confidentiality obligations, which contain no exceptions for medical treatment of therapy. That can't be legally tenable. It can't be legally tenable that she cannot disclose what she has been to for medical treatment or therapy. She might not have known that at the time, but that can't be legally tenable in California. She might have been fearful, and it might be there to scare her. As a result, Rachel was fearful of facing legal repercussions for her honesty and was forced to walk on eggshells. This caused her extreme stress and severely stunted her progress in treatment, which probably has a financial repercussion. Unfortunately, that did nothing to stop the vitriol. When Rachel checked into treatment, she gave her dog Graham. Oh, we've gotten to the dog. She gave her dog Graham to her parents for safekeeping. Graham was traumatized by years of abuse at the hands of Kennedy and was not an easy dog to manage. After a number of incidents, including one where he bit Rachel's mom down to the bone and caused her permanent nerve damage, keeping Graham became untenable. Rachel's family handed him over to a no-kill rescue organization and requested its discretion given the intense public scrutiny of Rachel. Instead of rehoming Graham as promised, the rescue organization, knowing full well that Kennedy had a history of animal abuse, that's a big allegation, contacted Lisa Vanderpump, who gave Graham back to Kennedy. Yes, it's a plot line on this season of the show. It goes on to say, all of them, with Bravo's blessing, then seeded the false and malicious narrative that Rachel had tried to get the dog, quote unquote, put down. Around this time, rumors were circulating. This has nothing to do with Tom and Ariana. Around this time, rumors were circulating, also seeded by Bravo and the cast, that Rachel was actually on vacation and faked her hospitalization. Illustrating the depths of its moral turpitude, Bravo refused to publicly acknowledge that Rachel was, in fact, in inpatient mental health treatment, presumably for fear that such would undermine the storyline. We have heard this from Brandi Glanville and allegations she's made against Bravo that when she was being accused of sexual harassment and sexual assault on the set of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trips, that Bravo allowed those things to be said and did nothing to stand up and correct the record or release the footage to allow her to defend herself. These echo those allegations previously made by Brandi Glanville. Brandi Glanville is represented also by these attorneys. They go on to say not only would they not do so They're alleging the network prohibited Rachel through her publicist from doing so. All of this caused even more public scorn of Rachel, further unjustified harm to her reputation, and increased threats to her and her family's physical safety. In short, it says Rachel has been battered and broken irrevocably in service of a salacious storyline. Unsurprisingly, Bravo and Evolution badly wanted her to return for season 11. However, it was abundantly clear that they completely failed to understand or appreciate the toll, quote, Scandoval had taken on her. They warned her unironically that she must return to avoid having her story told by others, and reaffirmed her prohibition against speaking to the press on her own terms. Though she did start her own podcast, so clearly she has thrown that to the wind. But the depths of her mistreatment in season 10 went far beyond what is acceptable even in reality television, and Rachel knew that returning to the show meant risking a descent back into the depths of despair from which she had just emerged. None of that has anything to do, though, with Tom and Ariana. A lot of this has to do with the network, who's not defendants in this case. How many pages have we been talking about the network? So many. We have talked about the network. We have talked about Sheena Shea. We have talked about a lot about James Kennedy. None of them are defendants here. It goes on to say, meanwhile, everyone else got what they wanted. VPR remains on the air, continuing to milk the storyline Rachel catalyzed. Do you really want to allege that she's the one who catalyzed the storyline? Is that what we want to put when she was the one having the affair? Is that what we want to put in here? We're not even shifting that to Tom. Like, Tom chose to step out on his relationship. Rachel chose to step out on her friendship. But is that really what okay. That's what we're going with. Keep going, Emily. Sandoval emerged with a significantly higher pay and a development deal with Bravo. I really want to know more about that. Who's watching a development deal with Sandoval? I'm very curious. Oh, and then they take a go at Madix. Ariana has become a bona fide darling of pop culture, has a new boyfriend, and is starring on Broadway. For Rachel, it says the future is less rosy. She brings this suit to vindicate her legal rights, if not to restore her sullied reputation. You let me know what you think about whether this will restore her sullied reputation. The allegations are over. We're now to the causes of action. The allegations are over. Out of that 12 pages, the allegations are that Tom Sandoval, without Rachel's consent or knowledge, recorded FaceTime videos of them together where Rachel was engaged in sexual activity. Not okay. It doesn't seem there's been any police reports, but that's the allegation against Tom. The allegation against Ariana is that she sent that to, it alleges herself, and sent it to Rachel. It alleges that others likely have seen it, but it doesn't have enough to really allege it. It alludes it, but it doesn't allege it. That's the core of this. Everyone else got thrown under the bus in this lawsuit because of litigation privilege. Everyone else got thrown under the bus. But the core of the allegations against Tom and Ariana are like a page. First cause of action, eavesdropping against Sandoval only and the Does. It alleges Rachel and Sandoval engaged in numerous private and confidential video conference communications, FaceTime. Unbeknownst to Rachel and without her consent, Sandoval surreptitiously recorded their communications. Rachel had an objectively reasonable expectation that these communications were private and believed that they were not being recorded. California two-party consent state, by the way. At no point prior to the confidential communications was Rachel informed that he was recording their communications. Second cause of action, revenge porn against Ariana, pursuant to California Civil Code 1708.85. On or about March 1st, Ariana discovered sexually explicit videos of Rachel on the mobile phone of Tom. The videos depict Rachel in a state of undress and engaging in a sexual act within the meaning of the statute. Sandoval recorded the videos without the knowledge or consent of Rachel, who had a reasonable expectation of privacy in their private communications. Rachel is informed it believes that Ariana obtained these videos of Rachel from Sandoval's mobile phone without Sandoval's authorization. They go on to allege that Ariana obtained the videos of Rachel from Tom's phone and distributed and disseminated them to others, including to Madix herself, Rachel, and other individuals whose identities are not currently known. Rachel believes that Madix displayed the videos or disclosed their contents to individuals who may not have received them directly, including but not limited to Bravo, Evolution, members of the cast, and individuals whose identities are not known. Rachel was not aware that such videos had been captured by Sandoval and thus could not have consented to their distribution. They say that Madix distributed, disseminated, shared, and publicized the videos intentionally and knew or reasonably should have known that she did not have consent. And then they go on to allege that because of this, Rachel has suffered emotional, psychological, financial, and reputational harm. Before the end of this episode, we are going to pull up the civil code on this. Next cause of action is invasion of privacy against Sandoval and Madix both. Because of the recording private communications, capturing the footage, and then it being distributed, both of them are being sued for that. Fourth cause of action, IIED, suing both Sandoval and Madix. Quote, in doing the things and acts described herein, Tom and Ariana engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct that transcended the bounds of human decency. Rachel has suffered emotional distress as a result of the actions committed by Tom and Ariana, including severe emotional distress, physical manifestations of emotional distress, anxiety, shock, embarrassment, loss of self-esteem, disgrace, humiliation, powerlessness, sleeplessness, loss of enjoyment of life, and that Rachel's severe emotional distress prevents her from performing daily activities and obtaining the full enjoyment of life. The prayer for relief is compensatory damages, again, compensating damages, temporary and permanent injunctive relief, ordering defendants to cease distribution of illegally obtained recordings of plaintiff, including those depicting her intimate body parts or engaging in sexual acts, and ordering the destruction and deletion of all electronic and physical copies of the recordings, civil penalties, punitive and exemplary damages, the cost of attorney's fees, pre- and post-judgment interest, and other relief as may be deemed necessary. Let's look at the statute real quick. All right, pulling up the California Civil Revenge Porn Statute, Section 1708.85, quote, a private cause of action, meaning a civil cause of action, versus a criminal cause of action. A private cause of action lies against a person who intentionally distributes by any means a photograph, film, videotape, recording, or any other reproduction from another without the other's consent. If 1, the person knew or should have known that the other person had a reasonable expectation that the material would remain private. 2, the distributed material exposes an intimate body part of the other person or shows the other person engaging in an act of intercourse, oral copulation, sodomy, or other act of sexual penetration. Or 3, the other person suffers general or special damages as described in Section 48A, which we'll get to in a minute. The main question here is not what the material exposes. They've alleged what the material exposes. The main question is, did Ariana know or should have known that this was expected by Rachel to remain private? Could a jury find that Ariana seeing a video of a FaceTime video between Tom and Rachel knew or should have known that Rachel would have expected that that video remain private? That is the intent here. So you have to ask, if you saw that on someone's phone, would you expect that they expected no one to see it? Maybe so. And I think that's the crux of this case as to Ariana. Should she have known or should have known? Meaning, did she see it anywhere else? She saw this on Tom's phone. Tom's in the FaceTime video, if it's a FaceTime video. And that makes this a difficult allegation against Ariana. Given the surrounding circumstances, she found it on his phone going through his phone. It was not given to her. It was not shown to her. Nobody had mentioned to her that this existed. So I think there is a way for a lawyer to argue that she should have known that Rachel expected it to remain private. Do I think Ariana was thinking it through that deeply when she's out watching Tom's cover band and comes across this in a camera roll? No, probably not. But that's not how it's going to look if it gets to trial. Because lawyers, there are some exceptions to this code section that I feel for completeness we need to look at. There shall be no liability on the part of a person distributing the material under the following circumstances. 1, the material was created under an agreement by the person appearing in the material, meaning this was made to be viewed or distributed. That is okay. The person possessing or viewing the distributed material has permission from the person appearing in the material. Did Rachel say, yeah, this is the video? No. The person appearing in the material waived any reasonable expectation of privacy in the distributed material by making it accessible to the public, like via an OnlyFans or something. That's not the situation here. The distributed material constitutes a matter of public concern. Does the relationship of Ariana and Tom constitute a matter of public concern? I mean, it certainly did afterwards. I don't know if it did before. The distributed material was taken in a public place under circumstances where there's no expectation of privacy. I don't think they can show that, but we don't exactly know where it was taken. But given what they've described, I would assume somewhere privately. And those are the exceptions to the law. Do I think we will see, could this settle? Yes. Do I think we will see an argument about a matter of public concern? Maybe. I mean, lawyers will argue what they can argue for their clients. So could this be a problem for Ariana and Tom? In some, yes, it could. Because of the way the law is worded, you don't have to intend to harm someone. It is a, should you have known that the person depicted thought this would remain private? That's the thought. So with all of that, I would like to know what you think about this. I really do hope that this settles. It seems through this lawsuit that Rachel has very strong feelings, not just about production, but other cast members, as one could understand. But most of this lawsuit is spent excoriating Bravo production and other cast members. There is little information other than the direct allegations about Ariana. Some digs at her, yes, but not much more alleged, and a lot against Tom, who did invade her privacy. So we will see what happens with this. I'm going to keep following it. Let me know if you want me to keep following it. This isn't the only lawsuit in now the world of the Bravo universe. They're all civil suits. We've taken a break from criminal in the sphere of Bravo, but we will be getting to a part 2 with the other lawsuits that do name production, producers, Andy Cohen and others in the part 2 of this episode, because this has already been long enough. Let me know what you think. This is a scathing lawsuit, but I think, well, I've been getting lots of DMs about you wanting to know if I was covering it. I wanted to cover it. I'm sure everyone else is going to talk about it on a podcast, and I have a legal podcast, so we're absolutely going to talk about it here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a law nerd. Hopefully you are following along with the Rust trial, which is why my voice is a little raspy. It's been long days of streaming. Remember, you can follow the day-to-day of what's going on in that trial with the Quick Bits channel. And if you just want to know what I'm doing, the Law Nerd app is where you need to be. And with that, raise a glass, hydrate yourself. I'm going to hydrate my voice before trial tomorrow. And may your Wi-Fi be strong. May your toilet paper be plentiful and your bidet water be warm. May your family be well. And may the odds be ever in your favor. Law Nerds, thanks for sticking with me on this one. I know it's a lot of a lawsuit. There's a lot here. You can stay up to date with everything I'm covering on our free iOS and Android app at lawnerdapp.com or search your app store for Law Nerd. And you can also follow me on social media at the Emily D. Baker. Remember, I stream on YouTube on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I recap all of that for you in Quick Bits on Monday. And of course, the Emily Show drops on Wednesdays. Thanks for being a Law Nerd.